Let's go. Yo, I'm like an addict, ooh, I gotta have it. I ain't even playing, got a really bad habit. If it moves, gotta grab it, fuse like a magnet. Lose, won't have it till I'm doomed in a casket. I ain't playing, got a weird mind. If you work 8 hours, I'ma work 9. If the shit tastes sour, you should taste mine. I'ma stay in power for a long time. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer. Rising the song to the highest bidder. Got juice, got gas, I'ma move fast. New shoes, new tracks, like who's that? I'm new, come back, better than last. Yeah, it's a new me, never gonna look back. I'm never gonna look back. Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast, and that's facts. Only I can make a change. Slowly take a step today. I will never be the same. Cause that's what it takes. Pieces is a form of art. I'm never gonna look back. Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast, and that's facts. Only I can make a change. Slowly take a step today. I will never be the same. Cause that's what it takes.
Hey, it's me. How are y'all? It's so good to see you. My bestie Alexis, Crystal, Avery. Hello, hello, hello. Well, it looks, wow, excuse me. Mr. X, hey, Kaz, had a press conference today with Rudy's family in response to law enforcement's press release. And I wanted to play that for y'all first. Oh, first, no. Okay. I was just listening to Dolly's video he did just a while ago from Vegas. Okay? And then I heard him say something, and I said, holy moly. Uh-huh. Now y'all know. Okay. So, today, I was driving around town to do my errands. It got up to 115 degrees inside my car. When I took a picture of, when I stopped, I took a picture of the dash, whatever the fuck it's called. Damn it. Oh, I gotta stop cursing. That shows the the dash. It has a temperature on it. So I took a picture of it, and then I took a picture of me in the hot car. Anyhow, you know I keep saying it's hot. It's freaking hot. Okay, so listen to this. Ready? This is Dolly in Vegas.
I ordered my sister's car, but her air conditioner's broke. So most likely, I'm going to go rent me a car, which I didn't plan on doing. It was a little out of my price range. But this whole no air conditioning thing. I mean, she'd loan me your car for free, but like I said, her air conditioning's broke, and her old man got the vehicle with the air conditioning, and he's gone for the week. So that vehicle's gone. The only vehicle here don't have an AC. And like I said, it's 120 degrees outside. You can imagine when you sit in that car what it's going to be.
Hot.
But Vegas is pretty if you like the mountains.
Okay. See what I'm saying? It's freaking hot. So, if you can join the membership, I would so appreciate it. And if you can, only if you can, I would appreciate any super chat. It's all going towards the air conditioner. Like, yeah. Everything I get extra goes straight to that air conditioner. Anyway, let's play the press conference. Dang it, Nabbit. Nobody send me Facebook messages right now.
That which that young man spoke to me. I have come here today to clear up one thing in particular, the lie that HPD told. HPD said that no sexual abuse was reported. That detective is an absolute liar. He sat there with me for an hour and 15 minutes and listened to every word Rudy said to me. In fact, he told the detective, I want Quarrel to stay. And Grizzy was right there with us. Rudy asked, could he go home with me? He asked the detectives, can I go home with Quarrel? She's right. We have witnesses to this. This detective heard everything Rudy said to me. But he was angry with me also because the detective did not want me in the meeting. He did not want me in the room. And it really got confrontational. We have the video of he and I's heated argument about them asking me to come in and them not, the cops not wanting me to go in. The detective heard Rudy say to me out of his own mouth, detective sitting right next to me, that in this house, she made him sleep in the bed with her all the time. And that young boy said to me and that detective that I did not like it. I didn't want to do it, that she was crossing boundaries and she would not respect my space and respect my boundaries. He said to that detective right in front of me that she would kiss him in the mouth when she made him get in the bed with her in this rotten ass house. She forced that boy to play daddy. She forced that young man to be her husband. He said to me in front of the detective, she told me I had to be her husband. He said to me in front of that detective, she said, I got to be the daddy now. He said to me in front of that detective that she would come in the restroom while he was in the shower and she would get naked completely herself and pull the curtain back on that young boy. And I'll leave it right there because the rest will make you want to vomit. So for HPD to say that no sexual abuse was reported to them, they're absolute liars. That man heard everything that I heard. I'm standing here speaking the truth of what Rudy said to me. Now I'm standing here fighting for that young man. I begged the detective, don't allow Rudy to go home with this woman. Don't allow Rudy to leave with this woman. I begged them to do something to stop him. I said to the detective, all three of them, after what you and I just heard in that room with that young man, how in the hell can you allow that boy to leave with that woman? And the detective said to me, because he is an adult, there's not a lot we can do about it. The detective, I also said to him, I said, sir, you know everything that young boy just told us. You cannot allow him to leave with her. That young boy told us how she would lock him in a room and leave him locked in there. That young boy told us how she would give him drugs, mushrooms as he called them. That young boy talked about how the drugs would cause him to hallucinate. She lied and told me when I first talked to her that the Hispanic young man that was seen here was her ex-boyfriend. And then when we were in the meeting with the detectives, she said it was her nephew. She'd been telling lies for years. So you mean to tell me, Houston Police Department, this woman can tell multiple lies to law enforcement. She can raise money all on GoFundMe pages. I talked with the investigator for at length today who worked on this case for years, the private investigator. She would raise money for Miss Jimmy. And one time she said when she raised the money for her,
Sorry, but he must not be a very good private investigator if he didn't know that the boy was right there in the house.
she only came for 5 minutes, picked up the $2,000 and drove off and left and didn't even thank the people who was raising the money on behalf of Ruth to look for him. I cannot believe and I refuse to believe that there's not a single charge that they can come up with to put this woman in jail so a judge can tell her you can have no contact with the victim, just like you do in domestic violence cases. If a man gets arrested for putting his hands on a wife, God forbid, they tell him that you cannot have any contact with the victim. Rudy is a victim. The reason why he was so willing to lie is because she had convinced him that the police had warrants out for his arrest because he had ran away. And she told him, because you ran away and they were looking for you and they spent resources looking for you, that you have a warrant for your arrest. And if they catch you, you're going to jail. She had convinced the young man to wear an assumed name because he thought he was in trouble for running away. Rudy also said to us, me and the detective, on more than one occasion, put his head down in tears right before he began to talk about him playing daddy at her request, and he got to be the husband. He has to be the husband, Rudy said. He said, I don't want my mama to go to prison. I don't want my mama to go to jail. On yesterday, when the question was asked, was there a sexual relationship? The sergeant lied in his response. And then the next question was there a sexual relation between the mother and her son? They refused to answer that question and said he's a victim and we protect all sexual assault victims. See, they know what I'm saying is the truth. That dirty, low-down damn cop was right there with me when Rudy said everything that he said. Just go back and look at the press conference. Why didn't you say, well, from what we know, there was no sexual relationship? You so freely saying that there was no sexual abuse reported. So what are you suggesting? Because he was of age, he gave consent? Is that what you're trying to suggest? Let me tell you something. Rudy is a victim. And for HPD to suggest on any level that that young boy may be involved in this scheme. That's wrong. That boy wasn't involved in no scheme. That woman a straight up monster. Telling you straight up. That's what that woman is. Woman sit there and told Grizzly and I both multiple lies. Multiple lies. And then get in the room with the detective and she starts singing a whole nother song. Rudy, in my opinion, his safety is in danger. Until he can be removed and placed with loving family or put in a facility where he can receive the type of mental health treatment and drug detox treatment that he needs. He needs that help. And right now, he's not getting that help. And what further angers me, you know, for that cop to hear about all the drug abuse, and he ain't do nothing to get that boy no help. Should have called, I say, man, call the paramedics. Take this kid to the hospital. Look at him. Then she told a big lie when we first got there. And I hate to put you on the spot, Grizzly, but if it wasn't for Grizzly, I would have never got involved. Let me say that again. If it wasn't for Grizzly, that mother never would have called me. But she called me.
He's talking about our Grizzly, the one that I shared with y'all on Facebook, the one that we watch.
Thinking I was going to help cover up with the lies she would tell and defend her. Man, let me tell you something. Everyone should be praying for Rudy and should be outraged with how this is being handled. That woman should be under the jail. I'm telling you for a fact what this young man said to me. And I'm going to leave it at this. HPD, don't try me. Because I got it on record what he said to me. But for the sake of the victim, I'll respect that young man's dignity, as my lawyers told me to. But if you try me with your lies again, I'll let everybody hear what that young man said. But I want to respect that young man's privacy, because what he went through should be for him to expose to a therapist and not for me to share with the public. But I covered my bases. I'll take your questions.
Why do you think HPD is lying?
I think HPD is embarrassed that they encountered Rudy on several occasions and did not do their due diligence. When they came to this address, had they done just some basic fundamental research, they would have seen that a child went missing from this address just years before. When they encountered him on other occasions, they didn't do their due diligence. They let that boy keep going with his mother. When neighbors would call in, when family would call in and say, hey, look, we got this tip about Rudy, they never even followed through. And in fact, they have to tell the whole world now.
And that right there, my friends, is why I believe law enforcement is lying and this man is telling the truth. HPD is embarrassed for all those reasons he just said. For 8 years, they have encountered him numerous times. They've gone to the house. They're embarrassed. Don't forget, they're begging for money also. But that right there is the reason why. Oh, and the fact of he has it on record. It was filmed. Like, you can't alter, you know what I mean? You can't just make up a fake interview on film. Like, that's crazy. But he said, HPD, try me. Like, I guess you don't want to try this, man.
Why, when Rudy was found, you waited 8 days? 8 days to question him. In fact, they wasn't going to even question Rudy. Let me be clear about that. They had decided that they were not going to question Rudy after the mother told them he's nonverbal. The mother told me and the detectives right in front of Grizzly Oh, he's nonverbal. He can't talk. And so I pulled up a chair and I sat down next to him, and he was holding his mother's leg and crouched all over. And she had covered him up with a blanket. I said, little brother, can you look at me? And he raised his head up and he looked. He said, I know you. I said, you do? He said, I know you. You Mr. X. I said, wow, little brother, you speaking now. Am I lying, Grizzy? Nope. Then I said, well, young man, can I shake your hand?
And this right here is another reason why I believe that Rudy trusted him and did speak to him. The way that Mr. X is approaching Rudy and how he's talking to him is why I believe Rudy felt that he can trust him.
Put his hand out, he's shaking like this, like a leaf blowing in the wind. And I shook that young man's hand. I said, can you sit up and talk to me? And he looked at his mama. And she said, no, he gonna have a panic attack. No, he gonna have a breakdown. I said, I think he'll be okay. I said, young fella, you'll be okay? He said, so I helped him up. We set him in a chair. And his mama said, we need to leave because I think he's gonna have a panic attack. And the detective said this, well, okay. Call us when you think he's better. Call us when you think he's able to talk. And I said, well, wait a minute. I said, at first he was nonverbal, but he's talking right now. I said, give him a chance. The detective said, well, if it's okay with him. And I said, Rudy, would you mind talking to us? He said, yeah. He said, but I said, okay. Ask Grizzly. I said, okay, talk to the detective. I got up to walk out. Rudy grabbed my hand and said, no, I want him to stay. So for all of you people who putting it out there that I put myself into this case, his mama called me and Rudy demanded that I stay. And so I said, okay. I sat down next to him. And we asked the mother to leave. She didn't want to leave. We said, ma'am, it's important that you leave so we can see if he'll talk. He might open up.
Avery, I believe that she made him not, she told him not to talk, or I guess he would get in trouble. So when they're out in public, she tells them that, you know, he's nonverbal and he knows not to talk because she fears that if he talks, they might, you know, get caught. So that's why I think that she tells everybody he's nonverbal. And I'm so thankful that, you know, he trusted these people to tell them he's tired. He's done with it, you know. So, yeah. I believe that's why she kept saying he was nonverbal.
So she said, okay. She left. We started talking to him. She came back 3 minutes later, bamming on the door. We opened the door. She said, is he having a panic attack? We said, no, he's fine. Look at him. Rudy was calm. Rudy was calm. I said, look at him. She said, okay, she left. We started talking to him again. She come back 5 minutes later, bamming on the door. Is he okay? Is he okay? We said, oh, he's fine. Look at him. He's fine. We filming this too now. Because we knew what she was trying to do. So then we started talking to him again. And in that moment, it went on for a lengthy period of time then, for about an hour. Then she came back and tried to do up again. We stopped her. It went on for another 15 minutes. Then I did not want Rudy to see me start crying. So I was trying to sort of turn my back to him. like this because of what he was telling me. Hell, I have well, sons. I have a 16-year-old son. And so he grabbed my hand again, and when I turned around, I was crying. And you know what he said to me? He said, "It's okay. Don't cry." Everything I told you that young man said to me, he said right there. Everything. And when I got up, we exited that room. I stood in front of those detectives. And this is on camera. We got it on tape. I said, "Sergeant, is there anything that you would not want me to say to the media that would jeopardize your investigation?" He said, "No." I said, "Sir, are you sure? Are you sure?" He said, "No." So we waited for like 5 or 10 more minutes because they took her into another room and they had detained her. They had detained her, put her in handcuffs. Now, here's the problem with that. If what the detective heard in that room was not a crime, well, then why did he come out the room and put the mama in handcuffs? This ain't passing the smell test, man. If what you heard, detective, was not a crime, why you put that?
Okay. Why would this man lie if he has it on video and can prove it? Why would law enforcement lie if this man has a video and can prove it? Don't know.
Put that woman in handcuffs because he heard the same exact thing I heard. So before I left out again, I said to all three of them, I said, "Is there anything that I should not say that would jeopardize your investigation?" And on the third time, they said no. 3 times I asked them. So HPD, if you keep lying, we'll let everybody see how it all went. So, for the sake of Rudy, I'll close on this last thing. I come out the room, the detective come out the room. As we step away, the door was still semi-cracked. She went in the room with Rudy. She sat down in front of him and started asking him about what he was telling us. Then she said this to him. "Back me up, Grizzly, you were right there." She said, "You got to change your story. If you tell them what you have told them, she's going to go to jail." She said, "I'm going to go to jail and I will kill myself." That's what his mama said to him. And the detectives was right there at the crack door with us.
And I know she said it because she said it to me.
So, Rudy is a victim. Rudy needs help. That kid needs help. I've sat down with many, many men who confess heinous murders to me. I've sat down with men who've told me about crimes they've committed that I've had to turn in that'll make you vomit. This ain't my first case like this. But Rudy is alive. But if he's allowed to be in that woman's custody at any length of time, he very well might not be. Because I believe she will harm that child to try to cover herself. Any questions?
So based on everything that you've heard, what crime do you think was committed, and what do you think she should be charged?
Well, she and I went over that, so I'll let Dr. Matthews handle that. We went over at length with some of that. But
When they say they went at lengths with that, wait until you hear her.
let me say this. Incest is a crime in Texas. Even if they want to try to imply subtly it was consensual. That's sick, man. That boy was not in his right mind. That boy was exploited and taken advantage of. And incest is one. There's still some wrestling about the age when this really took place. But making false police reports? Yes. Multiple false police reports? Yes. Making a false stolen car report? Yes. Absolutely. Lying and saying telling the bank my credit card was stolen, and it wasn't stolen. You gave it to Rudy to have in his pocket to use to buy things for you. Then you sit there and tell detectives, oh, I canceled that credit card by 6-7 years ago. Damn credit card, 2.5 years old. How he get it? From right out of here. That's how he got it. Just multiple crimes. Anyone from the family want to say something? I just want to give them a chance if y'all want to say something on behalf of Rudy or your family. Yes, sir. Next.
Yeah, I know that what Rudy told you has touched you. Obviously, coming here outside of his mother's house is a pretty bold statement. Why did you pick this location to do this press conference?
Because this is where all of it took place. This is ground zero, man, for Rudy Farias and what took place. This house needs to be cleansed. This neighborhood needs to be healed. Everybody in this neighborhood has suffered because of what this woman did. And I came here to let Rudy know we're not afraid to come to your house of horror. Your house of horror right here, we'll come here. Your house of hell, we'll come here. And before I pulled up, I got a phone call before I pulled up saying that she was inside the house with guns. And that if I came to speak in front of her house, she had guns and she was going to use them. Let me tell that mama something real quick. You don't know who in the hell you playing with.
At all. We're not afraid of.
Let's be real crystal clear, mama, because you got the right one in me. Trust me. So if you inside and you watching and you want to come out and feel froggy, hop, baby. Because we won't need HP to do best nobody at that point. She's so bold, she gonna make threats. That's because the police have not put her rusty raggedy behind in jail. She has not suffered no consequences. That's the problem why she talks so silly like that.
As long as they keep covering that.
And I got that tip from a news station, so don't say I made that one up.
So
Go ahead.
can you clarify? You say you have Rudy's accusations on either video or
I didn't go that far.
tape. Oh, can you clarify what
said,
you have?
What I'm gonna clarify for you is I got it, baby.
What does that
I
mean?
got the facts of it, and if I need to, I'll release it. That's what I'm saying. I'm not going no further deep.
Hi there. Oh, I don't know if I have audio. Hold on one second. Can you hear me?
I was muted.
Oh, that helps.
Yes. How are
I'm
you?
good, thanks.
I heard you're pretty busy over there
Oh,
with Idaho.
I am. It's been quite the week.
Well, I don't want to say anything, so yeah, I'm not going to say anything about that. I just want to tell you congrats, but I don't want to go into that with you. So you don't know anything about this missing person that's not missing?
I mean, just like the general public, but I haven't really done any deep dives into it. It's definitely a bizarre story. It sounds like mom faked Rudy's disappearance for 8 years, but as rumor has it, treated him as a a living husband, sex slave for all this time. Who knows? Seems if it's true, it's a bizarre story, and it's rare at best. But yeah, it's hard. Obviously, law enforcement has to vet through this tell and figure out what the reality of it was all. Somebody's not right in their mind.
What's that? I didn't hear the last.
I said somebody's not right in their mind, whether it be Rudy, the mother, or a combination of between the both. We don't know what happened because we weren't present, but we hear from neighbors. They knew that he wasn't missing, that he, would come and go and visit with them, and at the same time, mom is, reportedly looking for her son all these years. So go figure.
All we really know right now is what that guy that I was just playing has been saying. And I tend to believe him over law enforcement because I don't know why he would lie if he has everything on video, for one. But I don't know why Ellie would lie because everything's on video. So I'm kind of confused. Am I frozen?
No, I hear you just fine.
Okay. Besides incest, do you think that there are really any charges that they can put on her from what you've heard so far?
I mean, if he was a minor, there's a lot of things that can be, explored, whether they, decide to ultimately file charges, one charge, a dozen charges. I mean, we could go anywhere from, wire fraud if she's posting on the internet, seeking funds for, GoFundMe or whatever, looking for something that would be wire fraud. If she's filing police reports, could be false information to law enforcement. If she illegally restrained her son while as a minor, false imprisonment.
But he's an adult. He's considered an adult because he was 17, but he was really 18. She put the difference.
You mean at the time, 8 years ago? How old is he now?
25.
Okay, so as an adult, it still can be false imprisonment. It can be, it depends on how he was treated. If he was allowed to come and go as he pleased, then it's probably not any crime relating to him as a person being assaulted or anything like that. Unless he comes forward and claims rape, there's not much you can say if it's consenting. If there was, whatever the relations were, including sexual intercourse, if it was consensual, it's not rape, it's, incest at best. But, we got to let law enforcement finish their investigative efforts, and they'll derive whatever they can and present to law enforcement for screening.
Right, that's what I said too. But then I didn't know that he was going to have this little meeting thing and speak on it. So, but yesterday I said I'm just going to wait for the investigation because there really isn't anything that we could talk about. So we don't know anything.
Right. It's all just internet speculation at this point.
And I don't know if he was free to go where he wanted, like with the neighbor's house and stuff, or if the mom told him and brought him where I know she brought him to work. I know she brought him everywhere she went, but I wonder if he was able to go on his own. I don't know. I don't think so, because when he got found, he stole her car and wrecked it. So if he was free to go, I don't think he would have stole the car.
Yeah, it really just depends on his state of mind and what he's telling law enforcement as a starting point. And then anything else might just simply be mom's fraud against, the public, looking for funds, filing false police reports, and anything along those lines.
That's what Sleuth Mom just asked. What about GoFundMe fraud? Do you think police can or will bring charges about the fraud?
I would think that they definitely could, because that would be a form of wire fraud. If she's deceiving the public in order to get funds, yeah, I'm sure it's not only a violation of the use and the user agreement with GoFundMe, where I'm sure they would require all the funds to be returned to all the donors. But yeah, I think it's fraudulent to make those claims to the public using a platform seeking funds. So I think when this is all done and said, they'll probably end up filing multiple charges against her for fraud to the against the public, trying to seek donations illegally.
So you think that she will definitely get charges on her after the investigation with what we know so far, if it's to be true?
Well, I didn't say definitely. I said it could
Yeah,
happen. I
right.
don't know all the particulars, but it would sound that that would be a reasonable step because she's reporting to the public, through GoFundMe or whatever donor platforms
Mhm.
that her son is missing. Well, that would be fraudulent. He wasn't missing, or
Mhm.
maybe he was for a little period of time. That's what I think law enforcement would have to investigate is, throughout the entire period, was he missing, or part of it, or none of it?
He ran away for one day and then he came back home, and she told him that no one could know that he's back because he will go to prison for running away and coming back. She manipulated him and told him all kind of stuff, but that's how it first started. He was missing for one day.
That's what, obviously that's what you've heard. I don't know enough about it to dispute with you, but certainly that would sound like it's the makings of a fraud.
Hmm.
And certainly exploiting, her son, who may qualify as a disabled adult, which carries penalties in its own right in many jurisdictions if you're exploiting, a disabled person for your own personal benefit. I don't know if he's receiving, welfare or anything like that.
Hmm.
So social security or otherwise. So it really just depends. I think we're early on in this process, but I would expect at some point charges will come about, if for nothing else other than to show the rest of us what not to do. Because certainly something like this sounds uh, evil. It sounds, exploitive. It sounds unlawful to some degree.
Yes.
Can't imagine you or I going out there and fabricating some story in order to get donations. That just doesn't sit well with any of us.
Right. Is there anything at all Tim Miller with EquiSearch can do for them, um, since she reported missing and they went looking? Can they get any resources or try to get any resources back from that?
You directed that to Tim, or are you asking for Tim a question to me? I'm
Yes.
confused.
Is there anything at all that Tim Miller with EquiSearch can do for them misusing his resources?
If they were deceived to volunteer their time, I would imagine that they may have a cause of action against them, or small claims action against them for any resources that they expend for the needless search.
But what would they really get out of it?
Recouping for their expenses. I mean,
Would they get anything out of it though? I mean, even if they are awarded the lawsuit or whatever, how will they get their money if she has no money?
well, that's what we're all faced. I mean, a lot of people think it's hard to get a judgment. It's harder to cash in on a judgment. So people will come forward to me all the time saying, "Hey, my attorney got a judgment against, some claimant or debtor." And I go, "Oh, congratulations. Now the hard part begins." So, looking for assets to attach or to seize, is really the challenge, because you can get a judgment. That's just a piece of paper with a bunch of zeros and some numbers on it.
Mhm.
But converting that to an actual paycheck, seizing on a bank account, or having the county auction off a luxury vehicle or something, that's really a challenge.
Oh, do you think there would be a statute of limitations on what EquiSearch can do since it was 8 years ago?
Well, typically for a civil cause of action for a general claim, and what I mean by that is if it's not covered specifically by the statute under a unique scenario, we would default to the 4-year statute of limitations for a general claim. So they're outside of that. So what they would have to do is, many jurisdictions have a 1-year period that you can seek remedies under the discovery rule. So if I discovered something today, I have a year from this point to file an action, and I can make a claim under my discovery of it, because here it's a fraud, right? If you were fraudulently led to provide services, and then you find out down the road you were abused for that service, why couldn't you recover? And I think statute of limitations is certainly the defendant's claim to try and avoid a judgment. But I would say, as long as you're filing within a year, not every state has a tolling statute for discovery. Texas probably does. Texas is pretty much a red state, so protections like that would likely be there. You don't mess with Texas. That's what we all
Yeah, they really mean it when they say that.
So I can't imagine the judge would allow the mom to avoid a judgment simply because they didn't find it soon enough. So I would think if they really wanted to pursue it, they could. But I think they got some good PR mileage out of this, nonetheless. Whether it's a day or two or a week or a month lost from years past, is it worth really consuming your time today? That's something for EquiSearch to determine if it's worth their time. Otherwise, I'd make a big stink about it, like a PR spin. Don't waste their time. We're serious when we search, and here we're abused in our generosity years past, and please don't abuse us this way in any need that comes down the road. If you're going to commit a fraud, don't include us.
That's true. I really like that.
Because there's plenty of times that I've seen grounds for a cause of action against somebody, and it's just so much easier just to go chase new money than trying to squeeze old money out of somebody that wronged you.
I didn't know about the year with the discovery. I didn't know about that. That's
well, and there's other tolling provisions too. Like if your defendant leaves the state that the cause or the claim occurred in, that's a tolling provision as well, where that's known as being unavailable if they've left the state of whatever the cause of action. That's a grounds for tolling as well.
so I know the issue with Idaho 4, but can you speak on it at all or no?
No, not really. I mean, it's brand new, and that's still in the development phase, and we'll see where things are in a few weeks.
I don't know what else to talk about. Avery just said, "Hey, Jason's coming up," and I'm like, "Okay." So y'all have questions for him? Do y'all want to ask anything?
Obviously, it doesn't have to be limited to Rudy's scenario here. I mean,
Right.
Here for a minute. So, have
Anything but Idaho 4.
or Idaho 4 or anybody else?
Come on, guys, ask questions.
And the only thing I can't talk about is Richard Allen.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
No, I'm subject to the gag order.
Avery told me that. I forgot. Ask questions.
Doesn't seem
So,
like anybody has any.
huh?
Doesn't seem like anybody has any.
I know they're just like quiet. So I know you're deep into Delphi and stuff, but is that like really? I know all of your time's going to that, so that's really the only case that you're working on like full time. Thank you.
Hey, Brad.
Help me.
Jason's my Brad. Okay, Jason. First, the Rudy situation. So, his mother's husband, who unalived himself, was a Houston police officer. Do you think that there is any kind of, like, I don't want to say police corruption, but do you think that they're kind of covering because her husband was one of their own?
I don't see a connection between the two. I mean, obviously, if he was still alive, maybe some of this wouldn't have transpired. So,
Okay. And I was posting in the comments, I was telling everybody that you were in the new Gabby Petito documentary that came out 2 weekends ago, and everybody can find it on Tubi. It's free to watch, and he did really good.
well, thank you. Yeah, I forgot about all about that.
How did you forget about that? Okay, Brian Coburter.
No, it could have been. It's already 2 years ago in my mind.
Okay, Brian Coburter. Tell them what you told me about the lack of DNA evidence in his car, his apartment, his office, and his parents' house.
But that doesn't mean nothing to me. It just means that he did a thorough job cleaning, or it means that the bodies weren't transported in his vehicle, or ended up at his apartment. We know that though, because they never left the crime scene. So the only things that could have happened is if he transferred blood or a hair or anything like that into his vehicle from the crime scene back home. And again, if he did a thorough job cleaning his vehicle or his apartment, there's not going to be any trace of that detected.
So you don't think it weakens the prosecution's case at all?
Not at all. And let's just look at the core facts. 4 people slain with a knife. A knife sheath is left at the crime scene. That's the housing of a knife.
Can you show them your K-bar? Do you have it close by?
Yeah. Well, hold on a second. Let me get it.
Okay. Wait till you guys see how big it is.
Thank you for coming up here because you know more of what he can and can't say, and you know more of what he knows. And I'm like, this is the first time I ever see him, so I didn't.
Yeah, he just can't talk about Delphi. But his seeing the knife when he holds it up, it makes such a difference, like than what we picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah, from the pictures.
Yeah.
All right. So this is a USMC K-bar fighting knife. This is the type of knife that was purchased. We know that was purchased. They got the Amazon receipt showing that he ordered and likely received one. And no one can find the knife. That's okay, because I would dispose of the knife as well. But this is the knife sheath that was left at the crime scene in Maddie's bed, where they tested for trace DNA or touch DNA. This little snap right here. And the reason why they would test that is because that's where you press the hardest if you're trying to unsnap or snap it. So naturally, that's where they tested, and they got a hit. They matched his DNA. So who cares if the victim's DNA isn't in his possession? He left, a piece of the murder weapon at the crime scene with his DNA on it. So
now, would that be
get around that one? How do you get around that one? The only thing that could conceivably pop into my mind is him saying, yes, that must have been my knife sheath someone stole it from my apartment, right? That's your only defense to that. It's like, well, yeah, you can prove that it was mine, but you can't prove that I left it there, or can they?
Now, would that be touch DNA, transfer DNA?
Yeah, that would be touch DNA because it's not blood, semen, or saliva. It's going to be epithelial DNA from his skin, from just contact.
Now, I heard you say that they do have the receipt from Amazon, but
Right,
we
so that
haven't.
showed that he purchased one, and his DNA is on it. So it's going to be a hard argument for him to make that he didn't own one. You know, maybe I touched someone else's knife sheath, but they can make the argument that you ordered one and received one, and you left it at the crime scene.
How do we know that that they verified that he purchased one off of Amazon?
Because anytime you or I or anyone else orders on Amazon, there's a history of the purchase. You get the email, you get the shipping invoice, tracking number, and all that stuff in your email. It's showing that your order was purchased by your debit card or whatever, and you received it, because it even shows you with a picture through your Amazon account that it's sitting on your front porch.
But I didn't think that law enforcement had actually put anywhere that they actually had there's like a feedback coming.
They seized his computers, so they got access to his emails and everything else.
But how do we know they found that in there? How do we know that they actually found a receipt in his data?
Well,
that wasn't
because the return from the search warrant indicates that they received a receipt from Amazon.
Okay, that's what I was
showing
wondering.
the order number and everything.
Okay. What do you think about, so everybody's still talking about the case. What do you think about this theory that it could be the DoorDash driver, or that Brian could be the DoorDash driver?
Well, they anything dealing with DoorDash where they're tracking the employee's phone, they know that he left the scene. They know that he was making around, probably made it back to the store, wherever he was picking up orders, going his route. He wasn't there long enough to commit a quadruple homicide.
Okay. All right. And
so. I have a question, Avery.
Oh no, go ahead.
We know that they tested the button for DNA. Was it the outside part or was it the inside part? I guess you call it female, male.
I don't know, because they've not been that specific. They just said the snap. So whether it's the back of the snap, the top of the snap, we just know is that they've described that it was from the snap.
Could that mean that there's other fingerprints?
And usually when they do collect DNA, they'll collect it from the top and the bottom and all the way around. So it may have been collected by an MVAC to a single filter.
Okay, I got one more question. The FBI forensic cast report. What all would be in that aside from cellular phone pings?
What about it?
What else? Okay, the prosecution is still waiting on the FBI forensic cast report.
Okay.
What all would be in that report aside from the cell phone pings?
Well, anything involving digital evidence concerning the phone, GPS location, text messaging, calls in, calls out, you name it. They'll try and collect as much as they can from the device, from the towers. That's what that particular unit is notorious for, is anything digital dealing with the device.
And I already know your answer to this, but just so other people can hear, you believe that they have a solved case and they have the right man in custody, right?
Oh, it's a solid case. I mean, that probable cause that the warrant for the affidavit, it was so detailed. I mean, it was really over and above what typically you see in an arrest warrant. So, it was
Okay. One other thing.
all the details, including the history leading up to it, the vehicle, the phone activity, the DNA. Really,
Mhm.
it's almost trial ready just from the warrant affidavit alone, I thought.
Now, you remember, okay, so you know how Ann Taylor's questioning about how the examiner came up with the years of the car, the make and model of the Elantra, but remember you came up with 2016 before the examiner even did. So how can you explain how the examiner, what explanation he's going to give, changing the dates from 2013 to 2015, was it? To include 20, no, what were the first dates?
I think it was 2011 to 2014 is what they were asking
Right.
the public to assist with. And I think it was so that Brian Koberger himself wasn't made aware that they're looking for his specific vehicle, even though anybody familiar with that model type, they know that it included up through 2015 because it was 2016 that they made a model change. So if Koberger knew that, he wouldn't have fallen for it. But whether there was a specific reason only to ask for 2011 to 2014, or if they were just trying to be, clever with Brian knowing, only being a town away. I mean, I would think that as soon as they said the word Elantra, a white Elantra, that would have tipped him off. So,
Right.
but is he that dumb? I wouldn't have assumed that.
Okay, well, and one more thing. I know I keep saying one more thing. He's gonna kill me later, y'all.
Koberger?
No.
That's what I was gonna say too.
Okay, remember how I asked you months ago, and I know how your memory is, so he probably isn't gonna remember, but I asked you months ago, how did you come to the conclusion that Ethan was in the hallway or the doorway? And you gave me an explanation, something about it being common sense, but something also to do with the PCA. And people are kind of arguing on YouTube about exactly where Ethan was. Do you remember what that explanation was that you told me?
Well,
I
yeah.
think,
When they said that there was a non-responsive male in the hallway by the bathroom, there was only one deceased male, and that was Ethan. So, there was a lot of common sense, and certainly if you left Xana's bedroom and went to the bathroom or whatever, that would most likely be the one that Koberger encountered before he ended up leaving the second floor level of that home.
but now they're saying that Hunter told Kaylee's mom that the bedroom door to Xana's room was shut and locked, and he had to push that door open. So he's saying Ethan was on the inside of the room.
No, I don't. I think they're getting the timeline and when the door was found locked, confused, because certainly not describing the evolution of the crimes and the crime scene as depicted by those that placed the 911 call the following morning. So
Okay, well that's all I got for you.
So I don't know if you know about this video going around that's leaked about another vehicle and someone running away from the house to that vehicle. Is it possible that Koberger did this in another vehicle, like did the crime with another vehicle, and that's why there's nothing in his?
no, I mean, we know that there was a party that night over in the frat house, whether people are running from there to go home because we're talking cold weather. whether it was the DoorDash guy just delivering his order and running back to the car so he can go pick up a new order. Is it relevant? Not to us. Will Koberger's defense team try to make it an issue? Probably, because they're going to try and make everything an issue. It's like, oh, someone else was leaving the crime scene. Well, no shit, Sherlock. We already know that there was a DoorDash. So,
It was actually on the street behind the house, right?
well,
Avery?
and even if it was behind the house, it just goes to show it's a congested, college town with a lot of different dorms and student housing, and there was an apartment complex right next to this home.
Mhm.
In the circle, there's a few other homes, multi-unit residences. And we already know that earlier that night there was 3, it appears to be male teens running past an officer during a traffic stop. So does it mean much to us? Not if it has nothing to do with the interior of 1122. It means nothing.
Do you think they'll be ready for trial by October?
I think if there was a request for a speedy trial demanded, they'd be ready for trial in the next 60 days. If they're
Really?
not ready for trial, it's just right now they're in a position of trying to anticipate the defense angles and what they're going to try and portray and recharacterize, and so they're trying to predict what they're going to have to defend against when they're presenting their evidence in their primary case before the judge and jury. So I think if it was a trial in a vacuum without a defense, they could convince a jury quite easily. So from that point, they're going to try and poke a hole in every topic. But the beauty is that the jury looks at the case from a totality of the circumstances. So if you can raise a question about this piece of evidence and raise a question about that piece of evidence, and all of that can be part of your portrayal to create a reasonable doubt. But when you can sit back and see the whole picture and say, well, yeah, it's possible that the sheath was left by somebody else. Oh yeah, it's possible it was the DoorDash guy. But is it, it's possible it was somebody from the next door neighbor. Oh, it's possible someone followed them from the grub truck. But when you look at all of the evidence simultaneously, you cannot come to some conclusion that there's doubt with all that, because there's different reasons for this doubt and for that doubt and that doubt on separate pieces of evidence. It's not like you're able to combine them and have a central theme of an alternate fact pattern. Like someone else came in and it just so happened to be the guy that broke into Koberger's apartment and stole his knife teeth, and it happened to be the DoorDash guy, and it happened to be the same night that Koberger's vehicle's seen there, and it happens to be the same address that his phone pings at the neighborhood 12 times prior to that night, and it happens to be, there's a lot of happens, right? And it's like, no, you can't be that unlucky that all of these facts fall against you, when the reasonable conclusion is that Koberger is central to all of these facts: the car, the knife, the victims, the bushy eyebrows, the tall, slender guy. All these point to one person, and that one person is Brian Koberger. Even down the road, him and his father driving across the country and him lying about going to get Thai food when he's actually coming from Pullman, Washington. Dad was honest with the cop. Why is Koberger having to lie? Did he always lie, or is he just lying because he knows that he doesn't want to pop up on law enforcement radar driving a white Elantra from the neighboring town of a quadruple murder? All of it points to guilt, because why else are you lying? Oh, because I really had Thai on my mind and I didn't know how to be truthful about traveling across the country to my home city for Christmas. Who cares, right? Well, I'm a college student and we're on our way back home. If you had to say anything,
Right.
that's pretty benign. You were pulled over in Indiana or Ohio or wherever it was. That officer isn't going to know that you're wanted in likely a suspect of a murder.
Have you been hearing about how they've been trying to tie Brent Kopaka to the whole situation?
I haven't heard of that.
Brent Kopaka, he's the one in Pullman. He's ex-army, and he had PTSD. They had a standoff with him. He had severe PTSD from Afghanistan. They had a standoff with him, and he died by cop. I think it was December 11th, I want to say. And people are trying to, tie him into it because he lives 7 miles from Ryan. But I don't.
So somebody's claiming that an army soldier with PTSD possibly committed this crime, right?
Or helped. Yeah, they keep.
Right there, USMC. There's no way an army guy would ever have a Marine knife, or vice versa. Nobody does.
Maybe he was Marine. Wait, no, was he Marine? Crap, I can't remember if he was.
I think it was Army because they were saying exactly what you said. There's a knife for this branch, and
There is an Army version, and there's no way. You can convince me of a lot of things, but one thing that the military branches do not do is mix. They're not traitors of their own service,
right?
Some other branch. So if you're Army, you're all Army. If you're Marine, you're all Marine. And there's no way that a
But
Marine
weren't you Navy?
dead with an Army shirt on, or that or that a Army guy's going to be walking around with a Marine knife.
Weren't you Navy?
Huh?
You were in the Navy.
I was in the Navy, yeah. So I have Navy stuff. I bought this only because of this case. I didn't buy it because I've always had USMC.
I'm picking on him.
I was going to ask that.
I bought it for this case. It was after the fact. It was just for this case, not because I have any loyalty to the Marine Corps. But remember, the Marine Corps is part of the Navy.
Now, I'm Marine. I'm Semper Fi over here.
What did you say about the Navy and the Marines?
That the Marine Corps is part of the Navy.
True.
I didn't know that.
The Marines isn't its own branch of service. It's under the Department of Navy.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that. Do you think there's any possibility of Brian being part of his defense team?
Oh, I'm sure he's probably a very hyperactive, very involved defendant, and it's both a shield and a sword to his defense counsel, because I'm sure he's giving him ideas, but he probably doesn't know when to shut up. So there's things that they don't want to know about their case, but I'm sure he's giving them ideas and he's telling them, hey, here's exculpatory evidence, this and that. And it's like, so it's good that he knows the judicial system, but that being said, it's also not very wise for him to be revealing stuff to counsel that only the killer would know.
Do you think Anne knows that he's guilty?
No, I'm not in her head, but if she got to a point where she thought it was an ethical violation, she would, because you have to have candor with the court as one of your ethical duties as an attorney. As well, the other one was zealous representation for your client. So once she became aware that her client was guilty, she'd have to, represent that to the court as opposed to defend him, because she's required to express candor with the court. She can't lie. She can't sit
I
back.
wondered about that.
She
Okay.
can't say that my client's guilty, or I mean not guilty, and know differently.
So she could be thinking in her head, like her opinion in her mind could be that he's guilty, but because he hasn't come out and said he's guilty and she's not seeing anything as of yet saying 100% guilty, then she doesn't have to say anything.
Right. And one of the things that is great about pretrial is you don't have to go to trial until all the evidence that can be excluded is no longer admissible. So if they're attacking each piece of the puzzle till there's a point that when they're going to trial, there's big gaping holes in the image of the puzzle, they can go into trial and simply representing based on the admissible evidence. You don't have to sit back and say, but we knew about this and we knew about that. That's excluded.
Okay. I can't see chat, so I don't know if other people are asking him questions, so I'll just hush until you're. How much more time do we have with you?
Just a few more minutes. I gotta get back to the evening at hand. I was working on a report when I was asked to come on the show here.
I really appreciate it. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting to turn my camera on either.
Well, I wanted to surprise her because she is a fan of yours and she's listened to you, so I wanted it to be a surprise. And then I thought, dang, she's going to be on the spot. Let's see how good she does. But she did really good, didn't she?
Good. Great questions. Great host. Thanks.
I have a question real quick. I thought that inmates only wore, I'll say civilian, out street clothes during trial, not every hearing. And he's not handcuffed. So I thought they wore their jumpsuits to hearings.
Well, you can get that special consideration if the judge is willing to give a inmate an opportunity to change their clothing, they can. And I think one of the advantages here that was probably persuasive to the court is, the stakes are high and there's high public interest. So any chance that we can try and level the appearance of guilt, the appearance of a wrongdoer by not having him appear dressed in jail garb is ideal, because we have to recognize and appreciate the presumption of innocence. So if you're parading him around and calling him a guilty convict before he's even convicted, how is that being fair and balanced in the judicial process?
I have Janelle. I don't know if you have time for this, but Janelle wants to know your background because it's her first time meeting you.
Oh, he's got an extensive background.
There's a lot that I can say, but I'll just kind of summarize some of it. I was in a defense firm for 14 years. I've been my own owner of a private detective agency for 15 years. And I have a master's degree in criminal justice.
And he's a crime scene analysis expert. And he trains his own search dogs. And he can organize and lead searches. Hey, he led the search for Sleeping Powell, that big one. And
but most of that stuff is irrelevant to the topic at hand.
And he loves Oreo cookies, and he can't go to sleep if he doesn't eat too. Gotta put that on your resume.
Okay.
He's leaving out some stuff though, but I can't think of what it is.
Anything else, Janelle?
Accident is it accident reconstruction?
I mean, a crime scene reconstructionist, criminal offender profiler. I
Yeah,
mean,
criminal
we
profile.
do those as well. But
Oh, and he's on the coalition for cold case
right,
foundation.
I'm a co-founder of the Cold Case Coalition.
I have one more question and then I'm done. I promise. The other car thing with the video showing the person leaving the way of the house to go to this other car. There's nobody else out there. And the one person that you see walk into the vehicle is at like 4:20. So it would be like the exact time that they say this happened, and there's no one else around. And this one person runs from, definitely not walking, from the way of the house to this vehicle. Do you think that's anything?
I mean, it might be. I don't know what you're visualizing, so I can't say yes or no with 100% certainty. But given the time frame, and the case that they portrayed in the PCA, they're saying that it was a white Elantra. It was seen in surveillance footage at certain houses up the street and things of that nature. If there were other vehicles, that piece of the puzzle was not presented to the public. It was not included in the PCA. But the defense will have access to all those things. And so if there's a different vehicle that they're going to try and characterize as being the real killer and not Kohberger, that's what they'll do. But the real defense, to their defense, the rebuttal would be that is the car of the some other neighbor, or that is the car of the DoorDash delivery guy, or that is this car or that car. They will have by now identified who car that actually is, to either make a case that it's relevant or dispel of its relevance that it's meaningless. It's just a distraction, and that's really where I see the defense is going to do their best, is to make every detail of the PCA and every other detail that's going to be incriminating, and try and neutralize it and saying that's either irrelevant because what really happened was the real suspect took off in a black Mazda, right? Well, whose black Mazda is that? They're going to investigate that stuff.
Right. Okay. I think that's my last question. Avery, do you have anything else in your head?
No, thank you though for coming out.
Yes. Thank you for
No
coming
problem.
out. I appreciate it.
No problem at all.
I hope you have a wonderful night. Oh, what time zone are you in?
A mountain. It's 7:24 here, so night's fine.
6:24 here, so I'm behind you 1 hour.
Oh, you're Pacific.
Yes, I'm in Arizona. So.
Oh, there you go.
All
right. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It was fun.
Thanks.
Yeah, it was. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Bye, Brad.
Okay. Thank you. Huh?
I said surprise.
Yeah, now I can turn my camera off. I can't believe you.
You did so good answering questions on the spot. You did very good.
Janelle says it's 10:55 a.m. there. I wanted to smoke my vape so bad.
Girl, if you hit that thing when he was on camera, his eyebrows would go all cockeyed on you.
Nicotine.
I'm gonna hop down and watch chat, but I just wanted to get my questions in too. I was afraid that you were gonna freeze on questions.
I'm good. Thanks for having him come up, and thanks for coming up and help me. I am not going to be on for much longer. I'm not even going to do the articles that I usually do.
All right. Well, I'll be down in the chat.
All right. Thanks.
Okay. Bye.
I love you, Janelle. I enjoy spending my nights with you. How about that? Kaz, is it 10:55 where you are? I don't know. Thanks, Crystal. I feel like somebody's still up here on panel with me and they're going to talk whenever I stop talking. Oh, so it's like almost 11:30. Wow, y'all time difference is a half an hour? Dang. We're all hours and stuff. All right, everyone. Well, I really, really appreciate everyone for being here. Please hit that like button for me. And if you can, I would appreciate you joining the membership. Yes, hit the like button for me. I know I said it, but hit it, hit it, hit it. I will see you guys tomorrow. I hope you have a wonderful night. And thanks for being here with me.